Greetings, fellow weaponsmiths. Rodamon here. Thank you for tuning in to Bladesong. Episode 4, Making a Blade for Entry. I am going to look for Monders. Look for the dog. The dog was missing, and there was a heap of corpses, so we were not really sure who died. So we are going to wander the camp. You spot Chlodo, Bennett Monder's dog, digging up a bone from the mud. When he notices you, Cholo runs up, wagging his tail. Then he dashes off, pausing to look back. Does he want us, or does he want you to follow? Follow Chlodo. You follow Cholo through the ravaged tents, covering your nose to help keep the foul smell of death and disease out from death and disease. At last you arrive at the spot where Monder's tent used to stand. Now there's a 5 freshly dug graves in its place. Beyond, you spot a small figure crouched over a dwindling fire. Approach the boy. The boy's thin face carries an echo of old Bennett Monder. Suddenly you recognize him as one of the children used to hanging out around Bennett's fire. Cholo runs up to the boy's side and lays down. The boy scratches his neck, absentmindedly poking the fire with a stick. Are you Bennett Monder's son? Aye, the name's Sandrick. He says nothing more. His voice carries far more weight and grief than is right for one so young. Share some scraps of food. You pull a hunk of bread from your pocket, your meal for the night. The boy's eyes light up. As though afraid you'll withdraw the offer, he quickly snatches the meal from your grasp and splits it into 2. Half goes to Cholo, who snaps it up in 2 bites. Thanks. Pet the dog. The dog nuzzles into your flank, growling contentedly. I'm sorry about what happened to your family. Is there anything I can do to help? The boy gives no reaction. Cholo whines and rubs his head against his shin. Goodbye. If you come back, I'm not here. Look after Cholo, will you? Poor dog's got no one else in this world. Cholo barks, his huge tongue lolling up in his mouth, and his tail beats dust from the floor. You leave the 2 of them together, boy and dog, alone in a hostile world. At least they have each other. Speak to Chev. You find Chev sitting outside her tent, gnawing at a chicken bone that's already half picked clean. Nice to see you again. What's the latest gossip around the camp? Did you ever meet Lockin? The gangly young man who lived a few tents over? Apparently he's struck out for the wastes. He's planning to become a crow and seek his fortune. It's suicide if you ask me. Everyone knows a crow's life is short and brutal, but I guess you could say the same thing about life in the camp. How are you holding up after the attack? Well, I still have trouble sleeping at night, but I'll survive. A lot of people were killed. Good folk, who were out in the open trying to save others. Why are the good folks always the ones who suffer? Leave Chev to her meal. You climb into your bedroll, massaging your swollen joints. As the gray light of dawn flickers into your tent, you hear the tramp of boots through mud and alarm cries of your neighbors. Something is happening. Watch out, Smith! The guards are in the camp. I think they're here for... Your tent flap is torn open. One of Eren Keep's guards peers in, swords drawn. You, out. Exit your tent. As you climb out into the light, rough hands seize you. Looking around, you can see a full squadron of guards have ventured from the outer gate, led by a woman with pin-back hair and a severe glare. She's standing over your anvil, contemplating it with an unreadable expression. This is them, Sarge, the one who's been arming the applicants. You recognize the fellow as the same guard you spoke to at the outer gate. There's a tree over there that looks like a good height for a noose. Shall we get started? This is all a misunderstanding. I never meant harm to anyone. A guard was killed in the riots. 2 more are in the infirmary. All thanks to you arming the rabble with blades beyond their station. You were the one who told me to prove I was a blacksmith. Shut up. He looks ready to say more, but his commanding officer raises her hand. The guard shuts his mouth instantly. Sergeant Glenn, wherever did you get the idea they were going to hang this individual, Corporal? But Sarge, the guardman is dead. Someone has to pay. The applicant who killed Briggs has been slain, along with 6 accomplices. Justice is done. If we blame the smith, what next? Find the man who dug the ore and kill him too? Sarge, one more word out of your mouth and I'll have you flogged. You were supposed to be on the lookout for a swordsmith. And now I see that there's one under your nose who knows for who knows how long. Rank incompetence. The guardsman suddenly seems very interested in his own boots. So what do you want from me? You have no use to Eren Keep if you're an untalented smith. Make a sword for me, something I'd be proud of to have on my hip at the parade ground. If I'm satisfied with the quality, then congratulations, you're Eren Keep's newest swordsmith. If I'm unsatisfied, maybe I'll let the corporal hang you after all. The guardman brightens up after that. I'll forge a blade to make you the envy of Eren Keep. Bring me the sword at the outer gate when it's done. At a shout from the sergeant, the entire squadron swivel on their heels and march back towards the gate, jabbing spears at the applicants who get too close. So now I have a job for Sergeant Glenn here. The sergeant asked for a sword she'd be proud to display at the parade ground. There's no room for error. If the blade isn't up to her standards, you'll hang. You have one chance. It has to be leagues above the blades you've made so far. So, important to note, it needs silver and gold. A two-handed, narrow point, and a slightly curved blade that is sharp and of medium length. I don't have enough steel to start. I have 1 action point more than the request requires. So let's see if I can't salvage the steel. I did. Let's start Sergeant Glenn's blade. Now, this is mostly a ceremonial blade, mind you. She's bringing it to a parade, so it doesn't necessarily have to be highly functional. So I'm not worried about that. Okay, good. The design of the sword is up. All right, so we'll give it a slight curvature. That is one of the requirements. And let's carve it along almost the entire length of the blade. The other way. Then let's give it a cross section along that same curve. And then to make that cut rounded, I'm going to lower the thickness a little to regain that sharpness. Then on the back side of the blade, let's give it a taper along that same width, but I'm tapering I'll taper both sides. But not too much that it loses sharpness. Then it needs a narrow point, and I'm going to be doing a both-sided narrow point. Oh, the taper went wrong. The taper got real weird. I'm going to delete the taper again. Oh no, the width got weird. Hold on, sorry about that. Should have a double-sided width. There we go. That's what happened. I misclicked. All right, so back to the taper. The taper is going to be for the full length of both sides, just slight taper. A slight reverse taper, let's say. Give it a little heft. something grand looking. There we go. I like that so far. Alright, back to the cross-section. Yeah, I like this. I like it. It still has the narrow point, so it needs to be two-handed. And this is an ornamental blade. So let's lean into that and make it look ornamental. So this is the captain of the guard. It's got to look fancy. So we'll do... And it's a two-hander. And it needs a certain amount of silver, gold, and wood. So let's have a wooden grip, a fine wooden grip, and one that is slim and mildly tapered. And long enough that it satisfies the 5 wood requirement, which is like maximum length, and then really polished. All right, then the hilt will make of silver, highly polished silver, and this needs to be slightly larger to satisfy the 1.0 requirement. But the other thing that we can do is we can attach something to it. So let's attach like some let's see what to attach to this. Yeah, I like these 2 knob end caps. And if we make them out of silver, that should satisfy the silver requirement. And it does. So this uses 1 unit of silver, which is the minimum. And then we need 1 unit of gold, which will be in the pommel. And we'll give it this very fancy looking grip. That is 1.6 units of gold. So maybe what we can do is shrink this down a little bit, so we use a little bit less gold in it. It will still meet the requirements, but be more affordable. And that is a... Let's shrink this down too a little bit. Oh, but that won't use enough wood. Okay. So this uses all of our silver and about half of our gold and almost all of our wood and the minimum amount of steel. Now, I don't yet have the ability to polish the blade, so there's nothing that can be done about the blade's polish level, but it is a high impact. I mean, it's pretty well. It's not balanced blade by any means. It's a parade sword, if you will. But there we go. There's a parade sword. And we'll just call it Glenblade. Maybe the point at the edge of the crossguard could be a bit more gold to balance in color. You can't change the color. It's either... What we could do... Yeah, I mean, you really can't change the color at all. It's either silver gold or some leather or wood. Later on, you get access to more controls, but I don't have access to that just yet. So yeah, I'm ready to complete this. Chev has been watching you work at the forge for the last hour, hovering over the periphery of your encampment. Is this it? Are you done? This is it. Good luck, Smith. She pulls you into a tight embrace. And remember what I said about my uncle, if you do make it into the city. All right. We're completely out of action points and basically out of materials. So end the day. We have almost no money. Perfect. But let's go to the outer gates to see if Sergeant Glenn approves of the sword I made for her. The outer gate looms over the camp. Approach the gate. The guard is slouching against the ramparts. What do you want? The guard sneers especially pronounced. I finished making the sergeant's sword. The guard looks you up and down from atop the wall. At last, with the roll of his eyes, he turns and bellows a command. The portcullis rises. The great doors swing open. I'm going to see you swing one day, worm, hopefully today. You walk into the gatehouse and wait for the sergeant's arrival, suffering the impatient glares of the guards. The sergeant is otherwise occupied. By the time she arrives, the first rays of dawn are in the sky. Let's see it then. Hand her the sword. She takes the sword in hand, holding it up to the light. She twists the blade this way and that. Her eyes are glittering. Your heart stops beating until she finally pronounces, acceptable. By official decree of the crown, sanctioned under the grace of the masked king, I declare you worthy of stepping into the role of Eren Keep's new swordsmith. Her voice is flat and emotionless. One eyebrow arches as she awaits your reaction. I'm beyond grateful. Remember, your entry into Eren Keep is a privilege, not a right, and it can be taken away as easy as a snap of my fingers. Your every waking moment should be spent considering how you can be useful to the city. There's an empty forge in the artisan's quarter that has not been maintained since the previous smith vanished. It is now your duty to fix it back up and start supplying swords to the city as soon as you can. Consider this part of your rehabilitation into civilized society. I'll do my best for the good of Eren Keep. Without another word, the sergeant turns and marches away, leaving you standing in an awkward silence beside the gate guardman. Here. A piece of parchment bearing the masked king's crimson wax seal is thrust into your hands. It grants you the right to work within Eren Keep until such a time as His Majesty deems otherwise. You've gained a permit allowing you to live and work in Eren Keep. Get out of here. Can you give me directions to the forge? Just shut up. Go. You're lucky you don't have a noose around your neck. Enter the keep. Emerging from the gatehouse, you find yourself in the last safe city in all of Talend. Wisps of smoke from morning cook fires trace corkscrews in the sky. The dawn air is filled with a hum and bustle of a city waking up. Ask for directions. You approach the first friendly face you see. A tall youth with a broad frame and a tangled mop of straw-colored hair. He's hauling a wheelbarrow stacked high with leather hides. Caswin, hello, can I help you? I'm the new swordsmith in town. Oh, so you're Thessen's replacement. I got a delivery to make, but... He glances at his wheelbarrow of goods and shrugs. A short detour won't hurt. I'll show you the way to the forge. Offer to push his wheelbarrow. Are you sure? It's quite heavy. Taking the handles, you quickly find the truth of his words. The barrow is heaped high with a tower of swaying leather hides, and your muscles, still weakened by starvation and illness, shudder under the strain of controlling it. But you're able to steer it nonetheless. Caswin pats your shoulders in appreciation. Thanks, friend. I've been pushing that barrow since dawn. As you follow the man through the streets of Eren Keep, you can't help but marvel. When was the last time you saw people look so happy and well-fed? So many intact houses, so many proud spires. In a city this size, how can you be of need of a blacksmith? Oh, well, we have plenty of smiths. We don't lack for plows and horseshoes, but Thessen Felber, the master swordsmith, went missing a few months ago. No one else in Eren Keep can make high-quality blades. He went missing? What happened? You don't have to ask. You'd have to ask someone else. I sometimes deliver leathers to old Thessen, but I didn't speak with him much. He scared me, to tell you the truth. I've never met a man who could scowl like that, like a walking thundercloud. Whatever happened to him I hope doesn't happen to me. The youth laughs awkwardly. Your arms start to ache from the strain of the barrow. You know, my father was a smith too, back before the Sundering, back when he hesitates, searching for the right word. Around. My elder brother was the true apprentice, the one meant to inherit the forge, but I picked up a few things. Why didn't you go into the family trade? I was a sickly kid, frail of body. My father didn't trust me with a hammer. Judging by his nonchalant handling of the heavy wheelbarrow, that sickly childhood is long behind him. What kind of things did you pick up from your father? I know my swagging from my fullering, my hardy tools from heading tools. I understand the theory, but it's all from quiet observation rather than practice. I'd love to learn my father's trade. Would feel like I was honoring him. You know, there's likely room in my forge for an assistant. Really? Aye, good assistants are hard to come by. The youth's excitement expression it fades. He glances down at his wheelbarrow. Unfortunately, I'm stuck working for the tannery. How come? It's a long story, but I'm in deep debt to the Houndsburg League. They're a merchant guild who run all trades in and out of the keep. They have me working in the tannery until my debt's cleared, and you can't defy the League in Eren Keep and live. There must be some way to get you out of this. Well, you could talk to the owner of the tannery, but he's not exactly a reasonable man. Keep walking. The air buzzes with laughter and friendly chatter. The market stalls bustle as coins and rumors are swapped. It's almost enough to make you forget the guards who stand at every corner, hands on their hilts of their swords. Here we are, the artisan's quarter. Your forge is just ahead. There it is, a sprawling building by the canal. Stone chimney stack jutting stubbornly against the sky. The door is hanging off its hinges. You set the barrow down with a sigh. Thank you for guiding me here. It's no problem. He sticks out his hand. The name's Caswin, by the way. Nice to meet you, Smith. The pleasure was mine. I'll be at the tannery if you want to talk shop. And thanks for helping me with the barrow. Why don't you take some of these offcuts? I'm sure you can find use for them. You receive 8 leather. He walks away, the barrows weaving across the cobbles. A new location has been marked on your map, the tannery. Enter your workshop. The door yawns open, spilling sunlight into the long, neglected domain of dust and cobwebs. A rat skitters away into the shadows. Check the storage area. Luckily, there's a cache of supplies still here, enough to keep you in business for a few days at least, but it won't last forever. Steel, leather, and wood. You'll need to find an ironmonger who can keep you supplied with good steel, a carpenter who can supply wood, and someone who sells decent quality leather. Drop some posters. No one in Eren Keep knows that the forge is back in business, but if you put up some posters around town, you'll get the word out. You take the time to scratch some crude advertising on scraps of parchment, your name, your address, a motto. Here's the choice about the motto. Option number 1, we don't just forge weapons, we forge perfection. 2, metal to match your metal. 3, cutting-edge blades at cut price rates. Or 4, today's victories, tomorrow's heirlooms. Today's victories, tomorrow's heirlooms. That should do. You put quill to paper. And soon have some posters ready. Get started. Stale air holds barely an afterthought of the scent and sound of iron, flame, and smoke. But all the tools here and the chimney holds its breath, and the anvil still is tuned. And your hammer strikes a prelude, and your flint taps the count off as you light the fire. So, here is our contracts. And let's do one for a mystery reward. This one. Sharp, black pigment, narrow, one-handed, medium length. That will work. Alright, so its sharpness is the main concern. Got it. I'm going to do a weird curvature here for fun. Mostly just to show the different choices that could be made. Also because the person asking for a sword didn't say no. Sometimes it will say like straight blade, but you know, in this case, not. Alright, sharpness. So do the cross section on both sides. Square blade. We'll make a sort of a diamond blade this time. And that meets the sharpness requirements, but just barely, so let's exceed it. I mean, this is our first sword within the within the keep, so it wants a narrow point, which is great because I made it like a twisted weird metal. So here's a very sharp and narrow pointed cruel looking blade, right? Because it's like black pigmented. Why not? All right, then hilt mode. For now, because we're like poor as hell, I'm gonna go with like really cheap hilts unless requested otherwise, because we just don't have a lot of money. So this is one-handed. I'll give it, a black leather, structured leather grip. With, now that we're inside, I'll do higher levels of polish. And then maybe even like a black, or I'll do a wooden pommel because of cost. Technically, we could even make that wood, but that almost seems too cheap. It's a strange looking thing, like a Chris or something. So we'll call this Askill's Chris. Or Axel's Chris. It's too long to be a Chris, but I'm going to call it a Chris anyway. Strange looking thing, but you know, if it pays the bills. And we leveled up. So, here's some choices for the levels. On the left, we have sword bending, to be able to bend parts to fit our needs. Middle is engraving details into the blade. And the right is fullering, which is like hollowing out the edge of the blade to have it have contours and the like. And the choice is yours. All right, and then with the remainder of our action points, I'm actually going to break down some of the stuff we have. Because if you build up a whole lot of like broken salvage stuff, you might as well use it. Alright. Then I'm going to end the day. And we're going to head over to the tannery to speak about Caswin's debts. And I'll make the choices for the skill point after this, obviously. The smell hits you before the tannery comes into view, and it hits you hard. A nauseating blend of rotted flesh, stale piss, and caustic lime. Rounding the corner, you see the source of the stench. Workers stand in waist-deep in large wooden vats filled with manure and urine, stamping in the mixture into the hides. Others scrape fat and flesh from skins with curved knives. The wet slapping sounds carry across the yard. Seek out the tannery's owner. You find the owner seated behind an oak desk in an outbuilding, insulated from the worst of the stench. Sweat glistens on his fleshy jowls, and his fingers are adorned with silver rings. This is not a man with any personal experience of leatherworking. He looks up when you enter, his eyes flashing with irritation. What now? Another complaint about the smell? Greetings. I'm the new swordsmith in Eren Keep. The man's fleshy features shift into a calculated smile. Greetings, Smith. The name's Burdesh, and I'm in the leather trade. What can I do for you on this fine day? Do you have a man named Caswin in your employ? Caswin? Aye, he's a good worker, tireless, doesn't complain. He owes a substantial debt to the Houndsburg League. I'm helping him pay it off, one day at a time. Without my generosity, he'd have 2 broken legs, only a baking bowl to his name. He's mine. What does it matter to you? I'm hoping to hire him at my forge. He snorts derisively. You're welcome to him, but the man owes us a considerable sum. You just need to wait about 10 years. He should have paid his debt off by then. How much would it cost to buy Caswin's freedom? He pores through his ledger, muttering calculations. With interest, $2,000. But I doubt you can stump up that kind of money. That's a ludicrous figure. He's one of my best workers. I won't let him go until he's paid off or worked off every penny. Have you ever heard of a man named Lucas Borina? The tanner's eyebrows raise. Matter of fact, I do know the man. Everyone knows Lucas. He's been a great friend to my family. Why do you ask? Explain how you met Chev outside the walls. A pitiful tale. But if she has Lucas on her side, her story might have a better ending than most applicants can hope. Present company accepted, sorry. Where can I find him? He's in the Citadel Square almost every night, sitting at his usual table outside the Fallen Doe. Good luck getting a word in edgewise, though. A new location has been marked, the Citadel Square. Can I buy some leather? We don't deal with individuals. We sell in bulk to established customers. He looks you up and down with a grunt. But if you can help out the tannery for a few hours, I think I can give you some offcuts to take home. What do you know about the missing swordsmith? Rumor has it that Thesson murdered his poor wife and fled into the wastes to escape the king's justice. Sounds plausible enough to me. You do well to drop this line of inquiry, Smith. Thesson was a scoundrel. No one in the city misses him, especially now that you're here to take his role in the city's supply chain. Say goodbye. Find Caswin? You find him deep in conversation with a woman with a wild tangle of hair and a bow slung across his shoulder. She's standing beside a cart loaded with fresh animal hides. The woman sees you first, her eyes keen and bright. She smiles to Caswin. Her smile is like a dazzling blade. I'll leave you to talk to your friend. She slips away. A puzzled Caswin turns and spots you, recognition taking a moment to flicker across his face. Well met, Smith. Sorry about the smell. Is there anything you need? Who was that? Oh, that was the huntress. She keeps us supplied with animal hides. Well, her and the herders up in the farming district. To be honest, I don't know her actual name. Never been quite brave enough to ask. How's life in the tanning yard? Oh, you know, I don't want to complain. It took me a while, but I'm almost used to the smell. And I'm so tired by the end of the day that I don't have to worry about bad dreams. I just collapse straight into bed. Say goodbye. Farewell. If you need me, I'll be here. So we are going to take engraving, and this also increases our finesse by 1. So now we have a finesse of 1, a knowledge of 3, and 0 for toughness and diplomacy. So this is the first time. So the symbol's up top. This symbol here for the Harvo Nimble Grip, it looks different because it's going to be a fancy blade. It's going to be one that involves gold or silver. And this one is for the crows. The crows are sort of the mercenaries that go out into the wastes as, you know, adventurers, if you will. So let's take Kalia's contract. The woman who enters your forge is wearing mismatched armor. Her waist is adorned with a battlefield trophies. Wasteland grime has worked its way into every crease of her face. And she's looking for a well-balanced, medium-length blade with decent mobility and stiffness and walnut brown pigment. And she's offering reputation with the crows. Let's take it. Cheers. I lost my blade in someone's ribcage. Couldn't get it loose before his friends showed up. Lovely. My kind of lass. So she wants something with like a lot of... actually, she doesn't want a well-balanced blade. She wants a really front-heavy blade, which is pretty easy to make. She doesn't really care about how sharp it is, just that it has a regular point. And, got it. So let's go ahead and put on, like, a cheap hilt. Now, of course, we need to worry about the balance a little bit. But if she's a crow, we'll make her a blade that looks... that is, like, decently crow-like. And she wants, walnut brown pigment. So we'll do structured leather on here. And extend this hilt a little bit, not to a hand and a half, because that would be that would fail the one-handed. Just long enough so that it has enough walnut brown, but still stays one-handed, which is exactly what we did. Then we'll stick on the... I like the rings just because they're cheap, because right now we're like poor as hell. But I will put on like a little peen here. Give it a little spike. In fact, well, I don't think it will increase the cost of steel. Put on some spikes. There we go. Definitely looks like a raider's blade, for sure. And maybe I can, make this a little bit... Oops. I didn't mean to do that. A little bit bigger... without costing me steel. There we go. Alright, back to the blade. So it needs a regular point. And then I need to fix the balance so that it's back towards the hilt. So let's give it the regular point. But then I might need to do a taper to fix the balance. So let's give it first a cross section, because obviously it's not sharpened. And I'm going to sharpen both sides. And I'll have it be diamond shaped. Actually, I'm going to undo that. It's not going to be perfectly diamond shaped. For the first time, maybe we can give it... Actually, let's get rid of this cross section. I'm going to change it to be a full cross section of the entire blade. Yeah, that'll work. Make it a little bit wider and a little bit thinner. And that will help with mobility, and the stiffness is still being retained. I'm going to make it a little wider, so the stiffness is good. It's a 2 now. And then back to the cross section, we'll give it, we'll make it convex, which is good for stiffness as well. So now it's at a 2.4 and a 3.5 mobility. So it's really highly mobile and pretty stiff. Then the only thing we have left to do is the balance. So I'm going to create a taper and heavily taper the blade in the front, which I'll probably have to rework the point as a result. Wow, okay, this amount of taper gets the job done, but it does make the blade look like a ridiculous. But the thing is, it ruins its point. So if I want to change the balance so it's back to the back, I will have to essentially invest in more steel, because I don't really like the look of this blade. So what I'm going to do in this case is put the regular point back on, and then put something heavier. So I'm going to, I think what I'll do is I'm going to give it a regular point, but like make the point much larger, so I'm removing weight off the front. So it's easier to counterbalance. And then go back to the hilt, take this ring off, and then put something heavy on. And obviously this is going to cost me material. But as you can see, if I make the hilt larger, it fixes the balance. It just costs me more steel. But I think this is a more reasonable looking blade. So maybe what I'll do is try to give it... if I'm going to be using a lot of steel to fix the balance, I'll try to make it look attractive back here, like Raider style. And before I do this, let's put on a... let's give it a little bit of a taper. Doesn't need a lot of taper, but a little bit of a taper for both thickness to lower the weight, which will make it easier to balance. So it thins to a point. And then a little bit of a taper width as well. Just a slight taper width. So it's less front heavy. And then fix the point again. Perfect. And this is like the more complex blades. Obviously this one's not very complex, but what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to game out the whole like balance without spending too much. So instead of using 27 steel, which was what we had before, and changing the taper width and thickness, I can use 24 steel. So I saved myself 3 steel by making this blade the way I did. Now, if she's like a bandit, I'm gonna give it low polish. So let's go over to the steel material here and give it a really low rough polish for the spikes and also for the structured leather. So we'll do a smooth structured leather, low polish. Doesn't look perfect, but you know, this is good enough for her. So Kalia's crossblade with a K. Why not? Done. Back to the ruins. The dead won't rob themselves. Yep, that's a crow for you. That's what crows do. Rob. So at this point, I have a lot of parts unlocked. So if you want to start requesting your own types of swords, feel free to do so. And I've gained reputation with a faction. So if we open up the faction, my reputation with the crows is 42 out of 250 at rank 0. So there are factions in the game, and you can build up reputation with the factions. And the mystery reward we got from her is indigo colored pigment, which is worth about 50. So that was a pretty good contract to do. We can do Hendy's blade here. Yeah, let's make a full new blade. Why not? He's paying a ton. So, like, yeah, sure. And that will allow us to buy, like, new books and the like. So he wants a rather long sword. And let's make this the longest sword we've made so far. I can't even make it any longer? Alright. Let's thin it out. Can we go even longer now? Nope. This is the max we can do for right now. Alright, that's fine. Now, if it's going to be a hand and a half, the weight and the balance doesn't matter apparently, but it needs a narrow point. So let's put the point on. I'll make a nice long point, because like this is an absolute ridiculous length blade for a hand and a half bastard sword. Give it a cross section, but not the full length blade cross section. And then let's make it round it out a little bit. Oops. Now it did, despite its narrow point, because it's pretty heavy, it still has impact, which is fine. It's a pretty simple blade. I don't need to overcomplicate it. So let's stick a... let's, again, make it pretty cheap. Bring the handle out to a hand and a half. You can, like... I mean, because we can spend 7 wood for hand and a half, or 6 wood for hand and a half, so I might as well spend 6. There we go. And then it needs a leather grip. So let's use the blue. Actually, you know what? I'm going to use white. I'm not going to use blue. There's a faction that colors itself blue. So, like, I like to give the crows kind of like black stuff because they're raiders. And then there's another faction that we have not yet unlocked that, like, has a blue emblem for everything. So we can reserve blue for those contracts. So this is, like, bare bones. I'm going to call it Hendy's Heft. Simple pointy thing. It almost looks like a letter opener that just got like stretched. Pretty wild looking, but short. He giggles as he slashes wildly, forcing you to duck out of the way. Hey, careful! The time has come! The time has come! And he gives us our money. Which was quite a lot of money. Quite a lot of money. Thank you for tuning in to Bladesong, which originally streamed live on Twitch. If you have any questions for me, let me know in the comments below. If you would like to catch a live stream of mine, Rhadamant.com has my stream schedule and countdown timers to upcoming streams. If you'd like to join my online gaming community on Discord, Rhadamant.com has a link to it, as does the description of this video. Thank you so very much for watching. Special thank you to my Twitch subscribers, Patreon patrons, and viewers like you that support the channel and made it all the way to the credits. Thank you so very much. I hope to catch you on next episode or an upcoming stream. Farewell, my fellow blacksmiths.